Hi. I want to talk today about being a public pagan scholar. A public pagan scholar. And what that means, what it looks like, the challenges, the ups and downs, the opportunities you have available to you, the kinds of opportunities you can create yourself, certain organizations you should or could be looking for. Yeah. Let's start a little bit with what I do. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Freya. I'm a PhD candidate in women's spirituality. That's the focus, but the degree itself is in religion and philosophy. I have varied interests, but I'm specifically for my PhD, I'm looking at how ritual can act as a means of cultural and spiritual reclamation for Sami descended North American women. So what I'm really concerned about there is, you guessed it, ritual, reclaiming, rebuilding Sami spiritual practices. I'm doing this because spirituality, religion, spiritual, those are not easy fit terms for how Sami might view their own sense of cosmology. That's a video for another day, but that's why I'm doing this. I'm concerned with goddess spirituality, women's expressions of the divine, indigenous cosmology and ways of knowing and being, theories, philosophies, methods, and working with and through the water, the land, the air, fire, the elements, this beautiful rock right here. I'm also deeply concerned with using the body as a vessel. My background is in film and the performing arts before I transitioned academically to religion, though I do have a minor from my undergrad. So, it was always there. And it certainly was always present in my artistic work. But I think the body is one of our biggest spiritual tools that we have. So, that's my background. I'm a philosophy professor, not full-time. I'm an adjunct. Just want to make that clear. I also taught, again, film and the performing arts for a really long time, the humanities, all that good stuff, right? Now, I am from New York, where you can be whatever the hell you want to be, generally speaking. I'm generalizing. And nobody bats an eye. I have temporarily, I hope, relocated to East Texas, where you cannot be whatever you want to be openly without people, threatening violence. I have heard more racist, homophobic, violent language in the five months that I've been there. That's how fuzzy my brain is right now. I really had to go like this. I've heard more violent, harmful, horrible language in the 5 months that I've been in Texas than my entire life living in New York. This is not an exaggeration. I know what I look like. Those horrible people clock me and think that I'm an ally to them, and they learn very quickly that I am not. It has been an experience. Now, as someone who also was not raised in a pagan household and was not raised within an indigenous cosmology, there are some things that I can point to that were hidden and suppressed. But generally speaking, it was a choice between born-again Christianity and Catholicism. I mean, my grandfather was a Catholic deacon, so that was very heavy in my home. And here was little Freya getting sticks and twigs and leaves out of the, out of the backyard and putting them in her closet cauldron. So when I came out of the closet, when I came out of the broom cupboard, it was quite the surprise for people. And my family is deeply Christian for the most part. So that's the frame that I'm operating within. So these are the perspectives that I can speak to. And I am a public pagan scholar. I am not just sitting behind a desk all day typing up my ideas, though I'm doing that too. I really do need to publish more. See, if you're looking at me and thinking, well, I'm also a PhD student or a PhD candidate, and I'm told, publish or perish. You know, I've published a few things and a lot of like social commentary as well. I think because of my performing background, it's easier for me to do the public sort of thing than to sit down and do the writing very serious academic article kind of thing. But I am going to be shifting a lot of my focus towards that. So stay tuned. I am now in the dissertation writing phase of my journey. And I want to take like my methodology section, my discussion section around ritual and women and all of that. And also a section that I'm writing about the harmful ways in which white women in particular appropriate from other cultures to fill in the spiritual gaps in their own practices, and how instead we can look to our own lineages, the own places where we come from, to fulfill those spiritual needs. So that's a really big component of my dissertation. So that's me. And I want to say briefly that I'm up in the Adirondacks right now. I'm in a place called Potsdam, New York. By the time this comes out, I won't be here anymore, so you can't stalk me. This is home of the Bears. I did not know this when I booked this place to perform the ritual that I and the other women who worked with me created about becoming bear and playing bear and being bear woman, wild and rewilding and re-indigenizing aspects of ourselves and goddess spirituality and all of those things. So you could imagine my surprise when first we're driving up here and there's bears everywhere, and I'm like, oh my god, these people love bears. Clearly. And then we get to the house and there's bears everywhere. Oh, well, here's one. Oh no, this isn't. Here's the bear one. And this is like tip of the iceberg, baby. Like, there's a bear holding open the door. There was bears holding napkins. Bears. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. You know, we go into the woods because we're looking for a good place to do our ritual. And there's a slumbering bear stone, head, body, laid down on the earth. And then I go to Walmart this morning because we're in the middle of nowhere. And I had dropped them off at the airport at like 6 a.m. So by the time, there was nothing open down there. So I'm like, oh, I'll just come back. There's a Walmart 40 minutes away. And I go in and I see Potsdam Bears. So you got to get a shirt or it didn't happen. So I'm feeling really, I'm energized and lazy and lethargic because I'm sitting along this river. I don't know if you can hear it. This is pretty directional, so maybe not. But there's this wild rapids, and I'll show a bunch of videos, just rapids, and the water is flowing, and we're just covered in forests, and there's giant stones. And I looked up the name of this particular place of the land, including the waters, and the Mohawk or Haudenosaunee word is Akwesasne. I'm not sure that I'm saying it right, but it's Akwesasne. And it also has to do with the partridge as well. So that's a little tidbit for you. So I've just done all these things and I'm freaking elated. And I'm about to sit down and write up all my feelings and thoughts and what happened after the ritual and all of that stuff. What happened during the ritual. and I'm doing some filming and whatever, right? And I just started thinking, then what? Right? Then what? And it got me thinking about public pagan scholarship. Now, I want to be very clear. Indigenous cosmologies, indigenous religious or spiritual traditions and frameworks, which those two words, religion and spiritual, don't fit comfortably onto a Sami cosmological framework. So I want to do these around them, but those are the more Western modern terms that we have to describe what I'm talking about. Those are not pagan. Pagan specifically are more folk traditions from the European continent. They are traditions that have been passed down over generation, include folk medicine. They can be very local to the land and the landscape. They do involve often, but not always, multiple deities, different pantheons, someone who is a Hellenic pagan, for example, that has to do with an ancient Greek or traditional Greek cosmology. We can talk about someone who practices within a Celtic cosmology. Celtic, another really broad contested term. Norse paganism. So that's what we say when we say pagan. We don't include things like Buddhism, Hinduism, which again, we can also have an argument, well, more of a discussion around the difference between religion and philosophy, philosophical traditions. African spiritualities are not pagan. Does that mean that someone can't hold multiple identities? No, I'm speaking very broadly, very generalized, but I'm just trying to get you to understand that when I say I'm pagan, I'm not saying I'm pagan because I have a Sami cosmological framing as part of my spiritual makeup. I'm saying I'm pagan for all of those other reasons, believing in multiple deities, believing in spirits of the land, more traditional cosmologies, practices, folk medicine, herbalism. For all of those reasons, a belief in the goddess, that's just for me. That's just for me. Now, there are fields of study that are pagan studies, goddess studies, women's spirituality, witchcraft studies. The waters get muddled. And so, that's a much bigger video. And if you'd like me to do a full breakdown on the difference between paganism and spirituality and indigenous cosmology, and if you'd like me to do that, I would love to. Let me know in the comments and I will absolutely do that. But I just want you to be aware of that. The field itself offers many an opportunity. Now, what you're going to run into if you are a scholar practitioner like myself, is that when you go to apply for grants and funding and scholarship and opportunity and, events or whatever it is, and you're looking for religion or spirituality, you're going to have a very, very hard time finding any opportunities funding-wise that exist for you. Because when people hear the word religion, they're automatically going to Abrahamic faith traditions. I think I've used this example before. It's a good one. I told someone at a conference that I was getting my PhD in religion, and they said, "Oh, New Testament or Old?" None of those. And so there's this automatic assumption. I mean, even if you look at job description, it'll be like spiritual life director. I'm just using like something I saw on LinkedIn recently, but I see that one a lot. Spiritual life director, spiritual life coordinator, spiritual life on campus. And they want you to be a theologian. They want you to be a pastor or a minister or something along those lines. They don't want you to be someone who has a different spiritual tradition than the thing they're actually looking for, though they're using broader words so it doesn't seem like they're pigeonholing people. They are lying. So when you start to think about, well, if I'm going to focus my dissertation or I'm going to focus my work or my research on this really specific thing where there's not a lot of opportunities for me, the job market is slim pickings. What do I do? Why am I going to do this? Right? And, you know, I hear ya. I work as a philosophy adjunct, a humanities adjunct. I worked in film and the performing arts for a really long time. It is rough out there. It is rough out there. And so you're going to have to oftentimes create opportunities for yourself. Now, there are other countries that have more opportunities. And believe you me, I'm looking into those. But you have to also realize that there are pagan adjacent things, right? So like ritual studies could be pagan adjacent. Medieval history or Renaissance England, whatever, Viking era something. I remember Viking is just a job title. The impact of women's groups on women's mental health. Those are big sciencey fields. Really great impact, by the way. Working with like nature conservation or animal conservation or something that helps promote the continuity of folklore traditions, crafting traditions, story traditions, mythological traditions, you know, saving the planet. All of these things are pagan adjacent. Yeah, so side note, since we've done our ritual here, there has been an active trickster spirit. And things are like slamming. And I don't know if you heard that. That's why I stopped talking. I was out in the woods earlier filming for a film project I'm working on, which I'll talk about in a second because pagan adjacent. And I just saw it watching me. And one of the women that was here went out in the same direction the other night. And they were like, oh, I'm going to sit by the fire and I'm going to turn my phone off because I want to. And she was like, I felt something watching me. And another woman was like, something's moving past the door really quickly. And I saw that today. And I don't get scared that often, especially of spirits. What witch is afraid of spirits in the dark? But it's pretty powerful. And it's really curious about the energy that we brought with us. Because we did our ritual right there on the land. Like right there. And it was... We called in the spirits of the land and the beings here. And we honored them. And I think that whatever this being is doesn't feel very honored. There's probably a good reason for that. We called in the waters. We called in our ancestors. We called in a Sami foremother. And we played bear. And we rewilded into bear. And, oh, hummingbird. And, Yeah. Anywho, one of the things you could be is a ghost hunter. Spirit catcher. I'm serious though. You could be a historian. You could be a magical historian, a witchcraft historian. Um, you can look at literature about witchcraft. You can look at poisonous plants, herbal medicine. Like they're like broaden your mind, right? Like even archaeology, archaeomythology as well. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do that don't have to be like PhD in religion, right? So when you start thinking about honing your skills, what your skill set is more publicly, think about things you would actually enjoy doing and things that pay the bills. I haven't totally figured out the merger between those two things just yet. You can open your own clinic of sorts. You can open a yoga studio. You can open a meditation studio. You can, it depends on like what it is that you do and specialize in. You can write a book. You can write several. What I have been doing recently is presenting bits and pieces of my research through different formats. So I did a talk on a Sami myth. I did a workshop on recovering your own ancestral stories within your own family lineage. I did a talk with the Norwegian American Historical Association when I can take my research and I can shift it off to these different public platforms so that it fits for that organization, but it still holds true to the thing that I'm doing. I'm obviously working as a professor. I have a film festival that focuses on themes of the divine feminine and not in a weird exclusionary way. I was using those kinds of terms before it got turfy. No turfs allowed. So there's all these different things you can do. And another thing that I do is I host my own workshops and my own programs and my own classes. We have Witch Workshops, which is a year-long program that people love. And I'm trying to continuously merge being an artist with being a scholar. And so right now, I am a creative scholar in residence, if you will, for a Vision Lab collective. We're doing a dream incubator where we are exploring the philosophy of dreams and dreaming as a spiritual and cultural technology. That's what I'm looking at personally anyway. How is that a blending of what you're doing, Freya? Well, I'm a lucid dreamer. I teach lucid dreaming to other people. I teach dream recollection, purposeful dreaming. I'm a filmmaker and an artist and a performer. I believe in the power of the self to transform, focusing on bear, and I'm grounding it in Sami concepts of dreaming and what that looks like and what is true and what is not. And that's like a background layer for me. That's like that's a grounding for me. My scholarship is a grounding. My personal cosmology, my personal path and spiritual tradition is a grounding through which I can then operate and explore other things. And so that could work for you as well. One thing that's really difficult is very dependent upon where you live. So growing up in New York, no one gives 5 flying F words what the hell you're doing. That's maybe too broad. It's not that people don't care. It's not that it's all of a sudden really easy to be pagan or a witch or whatever brand of non-denominational, non-heteronormative, patriarchal, whatever, because that's not entirely true. It is still difficult to be those things. It's significantly less difficult than a lot of other places in this country. As someone who grew up in New York their whole life and now lives in East Texas, I have a suspicion that I lost a job opportunity recently, because I probably did a little Google. You cannot speak openly about your faith unless you're a Christian. You cannot speak openly about your sexual identity, your gender identity, unless it's straight and cis. You can't, it's real easy to be a racist down there. And I went in there with an open mind. I said, you know what, Freya, it's probably not like what it's like on TV or on the news. Like, you shouldn't just believe that. I've heard more hatred spew out of people's mouths in the 5 months that I've been there than I've heard my entire life growing up in New York. So, it's scary to be pagan in East Texas. And so if you are a person who lives in a state where it also might be scary to be full out with whatever your identity might be, there are ways that you can approach things adjacently. A lot of the stuff I mentioned, and also you cannot come out of the broom closet. You don't have to say you're also a practitioner. You could just be a scholar of this particular thing and be fascinated by the topic. You can do a comparative religious studies situation where you look at, this faith tradition and that faith tradition, and you compare them to each other and whatever, and no one needs to know that you're choosing these two things because you feel spiritually aligned. And I hate that I have to say that, because we should be able to be whoever we are in this world. But have you looked around lately? Have you looked around lately? And so, yeah. I know this video is a little all over the place, but I'm a little loopy right now, coming down off of all of the ritual activity, and I'm so tired. And I'm in this beautiful place, and there's a trickster spirit running around, and he's freaking me out, and now I'm alone. So, I lit a candle. A friend of a friend advises that if a spirit scares you, you ask it who it works for, and you light a candle, and the flame will protect you. And I also created a water chant while we were here, and every time that I do the water chant, I get tingles up my back and my neck. Oh, I still got a sticky on from the store. And every time I felt the spirit, I do the water chant, and I feel the tingles. And so I know that the water spirits are protecting me. So it's gonna be fine. But yeah, so that's a little bit of advice for you if you're looking to get into that field. You can always go the academic route, right? You can present at conferences, you can write a book, you can do the article thing, you can network with people in that way. I have found that it's really easy to overload yourself with all of the different things that you can do, that you don't develop a sort of focus. And I think earlier on in your career, trying everything on to see what works for you is good. You should do it. But you should also not stretch yourself too thin. You should really pursue opportunities that are aligned with how you want to live your life, who you want to be, what you want to do out in the world. If you have an opportunity to intern with someone, but they work in a field that makes absolutely no sense to you and you just don't want to do it, don't do it. Don't do it. Go somewhere else, because you're going to be tired and resentful and angry and wishing you were doing something else anyway. And you can always, always be an artist. Well, that's my little tidbit for you. I hope you enjoyed some beautiful videos of the land. I hope you're having a peaceful August. Let me know what topics you'd like me to cover. I'm now into the dissertation writing phase, like the writing phase of the whole thing. I can't wait to be done. I think the next video I make is going to be about the dissertation and how I'm approaching the writing and what's happened and how you talk about the field work and write about field work and synthesize that information. And a little bit of a timeline and like some study and writing tips. So do subscribe, stick around for that. Things that I do on this channel. This is a little bit of a lazy video, I'm not going to lie to you. But we do ritual and spell work and witchcraft. We do goddess history and women's spirituality history. And we do our PhD academic stuff and how to weave that all in. So if that all sounds good to you. And like, you know, practices, magic practices, pagan practices. So if all that sounds good to you, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a share. Leave a comment. Are you also someone who works in the pagan studies field? Are you just a pagan living in a place where it feels really scary to do so? Or have you never had any of these issues at all and everyone loves you and accepts you and yay? I hope so. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.